What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my DraftKings MMA picks for Noche UFC. We have Valentina Shevchenko going against Alexa Grasso 2.
I need all the wins, yeah. All that and all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another DraftKings picks video. This week we are breaking down Noche UFC. We have an 11-fight card, a card that I'm actually really looking forward to. I think this is a really good card from top to bottom. It's a card where we have a ton of massive favorites, though. I think, honestly, this card from a DraftKings perspective is a little tricky just because there's, like, not a ton of live dogs, I'd say. But, you know, there are some dogs with, like, some upside, like some first-round upside we'll talk about. So, just a very interesting slate overall. But I think these fights, as far as the fights go, I think they're absolutely going to deliver. So, really looking forward to that. Before we get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting out more content for Noche UFC throughout the week. If you guys want to support me more, if you want extra content, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Everything is about out for the week. I'm still working on the DFS article. That should be out tomorrow. But line of percentages, optimizer, targets, rankings, projections, all that good stuff is all on dfsbythenumbers.com. And then lastly, check out Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. I'll be going over my favorite underdog play of the week. Last week we hit the Tafa, less on the fight time. We'll see if we can hit another one this week here. But I say we get into it. And we're going to start with some fight doesn't go to decision lines. We're going to start with Raul Rosas Jr. going against Terrence Mitchell. We have the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 800. Heavily favored to end inside the distance. And I think it does. And I think this fight probably ends in the first round. I'm not going to have a ton of Mitchell. I'm going to sprinkle maybe a little bit of Mitchell. I mean, he's 6,600. This is a guy in Mitchell who does, I believe, have a 100% finish rate. 100% finish rate for Terrence Mitchell. You know, Raul Rosas Jr. is still a little bit unproven, but, I mean, this should be Raul Rosas Jr. here all day. This should be Raul Rosas Jr. in the first round by submission. So, you know, I'm going to have a ton of Rosas, and he's probably going to be either my first or second highest owned fighter on the entire card. But as far as like a very big dart throw at 6,600, you know, maybe sprinkle the Mitchell, but I to be honest, I don't really love his chances. So kind of a one-sided fight here, a fight that should end early, and the line definitely does indicate that. I think Rose is on the money lines, even minus 800 already as well. Next, we have Edgar Chairez going against De Silva / Daniel Lacerda, and this is a Daniel De Silva / Lacerda fight, and that means it must be targeted here. Daniel Lacerda is a killer-be-killed fighter, a 100% finish rate in his wins, and a 100% finish rate in his losses. He's never been over the 2.5 round mark in his entire career, and I don't think that changes here. Yeah, Edgar Chairez is 8,700. I think he's very much in play. This guy's a finisher in his own right. He has power on the feet, has a very slick submission game as well. And then Daniel Lacerda, this guy, he's a guy that has a lot of power, good submission game, but about for 3 minutes. I mean, this guy goes all out there looking for the early finish. If he doesn't get it, he is going to slow down massively as the fight goes on. So either way, I think somebody gets finished here before the third round, and it's a really good fight to target. Next, we have Charlie Campbell going against Alex Reyes, another really good fight to target, a fight that is heavily favored to end inside the distance, and I think this fight even ends in the first round. You know, Alex Reyes, 6,900. As far as a dart throw, I don't think he's horrible just because he's another guy with a 100% finish rate. He's going to go in there and try to get the early finish. Majority of his wins do come by submission. He does have a really good ground game, but we have not seen Alex Reyes in 6 years. And the last time we did see Alex Reyes, he got knocked down in the first round by Mike Perry. Charlie Campbell, this guy's coming in here on short notice. Charlie Campbell, I do think is a UFC caliber, and Charlie Campbell hits like an absolute truck. So I think Charlie Campbell first round knockout is probably the most likely scenario. But, you know, if Reyes does show up, you know, look, maybe he's able to get the fight down to the mat and finish, but I kind of doubt it. I do strongly lean towards Charlie Campbell here in this one. But again, another fight that it should be targeted because I think this ends in 1. And then we have Fernando Padilla going against Kyle Nelson. Yeah, I don't mind really Bosai. I mean, I'm more so on Padilla myself, 8,900. This is a guy that is a very high-volume striker. He's a very good grappler as well. He's going to be dangerous wherever the fight goes. He doesn't have the best cardio in the world, but he's going to have the cardio advantage here against Kyle Nelson. In terms of Kyle Nelson, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy. He seems to have kind of changed up his style the last couple fights. He's going in there and looking like he's fighting not to lose, just fighting very risk adverse. And, you know, I don't know if that's going to really pay off here against Padilla. But, you know, Kyle Nelson, he's dangerous, or at least he used to be dangerous. He can get takedowns. On a card where there's not a ton of live dogs, I don't think Nelson's like the worst dog in the world, but I do like Padilla in this one at 8,900. And this is another fight that I think finishes. I think all these fights, you know, finish inside the distance here. Let's go to our core plays. Rob Rosas Jr., probably my favorite play, or one of my favorite plays on the slate, 9,600. First round upside. You know, Terrence Mitchell, we saw him go in there against Cameron Simon, and don't get me wrong, Cameron Simon's a very good fighter, but Cameron Simon is not finishing anybody in the first round ever. When Cameron Simon wins, it's either a decision or like a third round finish, and Cameron Simon just made it look easy. Rob Rosas Jr. is going to get a takedown here. He's going to take the back, and he's going to probably submit Terrence Mitchell within like the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So, you know, 9,600, it's expensive, but you're going to get a first round finish. You're going to get a takedown or two. You're going to get some control time, maybe some ground and pound mix in there, and he's going to score well over 100. So I like Rob Rosas Jr., very expensive, and quite honestly, it's tough to get him in on this slate. So some of these underdogs will have to come through, but it's really hard to ignore Rob Rosas Jr. this week. Valentina Shevchenko, 8,500. I think we're getting a pretty big discount here on Shevchenko. When she fought Grasso her last time out, she was 9,400. And in that fight, you know, at that price, you know, not a ton of interest there. But, you know, she was on her way to winning that fight. I think she had like 70 or 80 even DraftKings points before she got submitted there, which is very good. You know, she would have scored well over 100 if she was able to either, you know, not give up her back or, you know, survive the fourth round there. She would have scored easily over 100. I think Valentina has decent volume on the feet, but I think it's going to be the wrestling, the takedowns, the control time, where those points are going to add up across 5 rounds. So yeah, I like Valentina here quite a bit. I think we're getting a major discount. It's not too often you see Valentina Shevchenko in the 8,000s. Moving on, we got Tracy Cortez, 8,200. I actually think this is a decent fight to target. It's a wrestler versus wrestler matchup, and I think it all comes down to who's going to win these wrestling exchanges. I like the Cortez side here. I think Cortez actually has decent volume on the feet. I'm not expecting this fight to take place on the feet, though. I think this fight is going to be won and lost in the grappling realm, and I trust Tracy Cortez a little bit more. The size of Jazz the Vicious definitely does scare me, but I like the grappling of Cortez, and I think this fight's going to be close as well, but I think Cortez gets it done 8,200, but we'll talk about Jasmine as well. I think Jasmine, if she's the one able to get the wrestling going, I think she can score decent at 8K as well, but I'm more so on the Cortez side myself. Edgar Chairez, 8,700. Yeah, I mean, whoever fights, you know, Daniel Lacerda / De Silva typically scores very, very well. I mean, Daniel Lacerda, this guy's 0-4 in the UFC. All 4 of those losses come inside the distance. I think that if Edgar Chairez does win this fight, it's going to be a finish. It's going to either be a knockout or a sub, first or second round. I like Edgar Chairez quite a bit. De Silva / Lacerda, whatever you want to call him, he's going to be very dangerous early on, but, you know, early on is about, you know, dangerous he's going to be for a couple minutes, and then he's going to slow down. So we'll talk about him in a little bit. I think he's interesting just because he has that first round upside, but if he doesn't finish Edgar Chairez in the first couple minutes, I think he's in trouble there. Moving on to the GPP plays here, the tournament plays, Lupita Godinez, 9,400. This is one that I'm a little bit iffy about, but I guess it all comes down to the game plan of Lupi. If Lupi goes in there and wrestles, she's going to probably be one of the highest scorers on the slate, and I think she's going to be somewhat low-owned because you have Rob Rosas Jr. up there, you have Charlie Campbell up there as well. And, yeah, if Lupi wrestles here, I think she scores a ton. I think she even finishes Elise Reed on the mat. I think it's not even close. But the problem with Lupi is she has not been wrestling as much as of late. So we'll see. If she comes in there with the right game plan, I think she pays off this price tag and much more. Fernando Padilla, 8,900. I like this guy. This guy's a finisher. This guy has power on the feet. We saw it in his last fight with the first-round knockout against Julian Erosa. He has a very slick submission game as well. He's actually finished over half his wins by submission. We see that Kyle Nelson has been finished 3 times, twice by knockout, once by submission, 1 submission loss against Matt Sales, believe it or not, back in the day. So yeah, I like Padilla here. I think Padilla is very live to not only win this fight, but finish this fight inside the distance. Jack Della Maddalena, this is probably the closest fight on the entire card. I mean, outside of the Cortez Jazz the Vicious fight. But yeah, Jack Della Maddalena, 8,300. Very tempting price tag here for Jack Della Maddalena, who we've had to pay like in the 9Ks for as of late. You know, Jack's a very high volume and dangerous striker. Doesn't have any takedown upside, but, you know, if he's going to pay off this price tag, he doesn't really need it. This guy throws a ton of volume. He's very dangerous. I'm not sure he knocks out Kevin Holland, but I don't think he needs to. If he goes out there and wins a dominant decision, racking up a ton of volume, yeah, I think he could definitely pay off this price tag at 8,300. I'm personally more on the Kevin Holland side. We'll talk about him in a second, but Jack Della is going to be a very, very popular play this week. And then Charlie Campbell, we touched on him a little bit, 9,300. First round knockout upside. This guy has a ton of power. Alex Reyes, I'm not really sure what he's doing here. 6-year layoff makes no sense. It should be Campbell, KO1. Get yourself a first round bonus there is kind of what I'm thinking. Moving on to the underdog play of the week. Last week we hit the Tafa less on the fight time. We're going to go for another lower on fight time here, and that is going to be the Raul Rosas Jr. lower than 4 minutes in fight time. I think he goes out there, takes down Terrence Mitchell, and the fight is over very shortly after. I like Raul Rosas Jr. to finish this fight in the first 4 minutes. If you want to check that out, use promo code DFSBTN. On Underdog Fantasy, get yourself a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. It helps me, it helps you. Check it out, and we'll see if we can hit the Raul Rosas lower there. All right, moving on to the live dogs. There's not a ton really here. Kevin Holland, 7,900. In theory, he has grappling upside, but is he going to go for it? Well, I mean, I don't think so, but we'll have to see if he does. I think he has a very good advantage there. Kevin Holland, a very good offensive grappler, BJJ black belt, but the odds are he's probably going to stand and bang with Jack Della Maddalena, and in that case, Holland, he still has power. He's going to have a big height and reach advantage, but yeah, I think Kevin Holland's a live dog. There's not a ton of live dogs on this card, but he's somebody that I think is very live to win this fight. Daniel Da Silva / Lacerda, 7,500. He's very live for a couple minutes, but he's very live nonetheless. And if Da Silva goes out there and wins the fight, it's probably going to be a first-round finish. The majority of his wins do come in the first round. He's very dangerous. He has power. He has a slick submission game as well. But again, it's only for a couple minutes, but that's all you really need. If he's able to go out there and get a first-round finish, he probably becomes the highest-scoring underdog on the slate this week. And then Christos Giagos, 7,400. Probably like a low-key play here, just because this is a guy in Giagos who is going to go out there kind of like a Da Silva. He's going to go out there and fight very hard early on. He does gas out, not to the extent of like a Da Silva, but he's very dangerous early, especially with his submission game. He can go for takedowns. The problem with Giagos is he's not really able to keep up that pace for 15 minutes. But Zellhuber is still very, very unproven. Zellhuber's been kind of up and down thus far. The Ogden fight, he didn't look good at all. Losing to Trey Ogden's not good. If Giagos is able to get this fight down to the mat early, he could have some success. So I don't mind Giagos, and I am picking Zellhuber, but like I said, there's not a ton of live dogs really sticking out this week. Alexa Grasso, 7,700. I don't like Grasso this week. She's going to be, I think, the first or second most popular dog. I think it's between her and Daniel Da Silva there. I'm not really high on her, but I will play some of her, just in case, Shevchenko is on the decline like a lot of people think. 7,700, if she's able to keep this standing, if she's able to work her way back up, if she's able to, take this 5 rounds, and even in a loss, maybe she can score decently. I don't mind some Alexa Grasso, but I am going to be very heavily exposed on the Valentina side. Pump plays, Alex Reyes, 6,900, 100% finish rate. All of those come inside the distance. The majority of those by submission. We haven't seen this guy in 6 years. It's really hard to have many high expectations for him, but he's going to go out there looking for the finish. He probably gets finished himself, but kind of grasping at straws down here in this punt range. There's not really a ton sticking out, but he's somebody that if he is able to get the fight down to the mat, he's going to be dangerous there. And then we have the fades, Josephine Knudsen, 9,500. I mean, this is a very stacked 9K range this week. You got Raul Rosas Jr. You have even for Fernanda Padilla, 8,900. You got Loopy up there. You even got Kopylov, who we didn't even talk about. Charlie Campbell up there. I just really struggled to get to Josephine Knudsen, who's not a finisher. The worst finish rate on the card at 9,500. So going to be fading Knudsen there. I think she wins. I think she actually scores decent, but I don't think she's outscoring, Charlie Campbell or Raul Rosas Jr. But there you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys could please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss out on all the other content, prize picks content, betting content. I'm going to be going live Friday and Saturday as well. So a lot going on. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all of that. Be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And then lastly, be sure to check out DFSbythenumbers.com. Lots of content on there that you not see on here. The stats, the targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings, optimizer, DraftKings article, you name it. Lots of content on there. So you guys, best of luck. We'll talk to you soon, and see you later.